Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew But My Dog Did podcast. I am Maureen Scanlon, or Life Coach Maureen, as most of you know me. Again, as always, I'm so thrilled that you're here. I appreciate your loyalty. I appreciate your feedback, and I try to always bring you the best guests and the best show possible. And I just keep one-upping myself. And I have to tell you today, so we're heading toward the holidays, and today I have the most amazing guest, and I'm so excited to have her here. I was so looking forward to this. And she so graciously did something that we're going to talk about a little more in depth, that I think was just so precious that she did this for me and took the time out. So my next guest, we met we both were speakers on a summit called the Superhuman Summit, put on by Life Coach Code. And there were several coaches over 4 days speaking on the 4 pillars, which is mind, body, spirit, and heart. And I was on Heart Day, and I believe my guest was on Spirit Day. Okay. Of course. I mean, that would only be fitting. But then I was thinking maybe Mind. But she was on Spirit Day, and when I saw her speaking, she was before me. In fact, I was like the tail end of the summit. I was like the last speaker on the last day. And when I saw her speaking, I believe it was day 2, I just connected heart and soul with her. I just knew we had to talk, we had to meet, and she's just so beautiful. Her soul is so beautiful. Wait until you hear what she does. So today I'm talking with Lauren Wenzell. And she is a clairvoyant life coach and transformation specialist, the owner and founder of Transfiguration Coaching. She is a cosmic channel coach, speaker, poet, podcaster, and published author. But most importantly, she's a student of life. Excuse me. Her inspiration comes from her soul's hope and devotion to serve others with the intentions of self-love, healing, and powerful, life-changing, transformational results. I love everything about that. She's a certified soul realignment practitioner that provides soul level information along with her coaching. See, I love the niches. I love the coaching because there are so many niches and so many different ways that you can heal and grow. And I just love this. So her clients gain clarity, recognition, healing, karma clearing, expansion, and much, much more through her work with them. She loves assisting others by providing research-based information, energetic healing, and scientific modalities that allow her clients to live a soul-filled life while creating the harmony they long for. So this is where the fun stuff comes in, and I know, listeners, you're going to love this. She is a human design reader and specialist certified through level 4 master teacher, manifestation by design principles and techniques. Her design, BG5 specialist, we're going to get into that, human design in business, and dream specialist. And human design provides clients a unique understanding of their energetic aura type, going through each center channel and detail of their charts. Her background includes 10 plus years as a previous behavioral therapist working with neurodiverse individuals. And you all know how I feel about that. I'm certified in neurodiverse coaching, and I am also a neurodiverse person. So she has also obtained her BA in psychology, and she is trauma informed. Woo! I need applause. Welcome, Miss Lauren. Thank you for being here. We're so honored.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
This is so cool for me because when you were on the summit and doing your talk and I was on the summit doing mine, we brought up a little bit of our backgrounds and our trauma, and it's so amazing why this podcast to me is so special. And I think listeners, for you, why you continue to listen is because every week we hear new stuff about everybody's story, and most 99, no, I'm going to say 100% of my guests and listeners have gone through something and they have gone past it or they have overcome it. And so the learning that we have from these life experiences is so amazing to bring us to this point where we can now help others. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%.
I love it. Now, I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about, your coaching and how you help clients with the clairvoyant, the transformation. But the real exciting thing for me, so listeners, she had me send her my date of birth, my time of birth, and the city and state that I was born in. And whew, knocked me off my seat with the absolute accuracy of how everything she described was me without ever having talked to me face to face or even on a Zoom. So let's talk about the different kinds of human design, what human design means for our listeners.
Yeah, that's a great question. So anybody who is new to human design or doesn't know what human design is, it is a blend of the Kabbalah, the astrology, and the I Ching. So it's a scientific modality, but it's also infused with quantum physics. And it is so amazing. It's a really awesome tool to use when you're really wanting to get to know somebody at a very specific energetic level. It was downloaded and founded by Ra Uru in 1987 through an 8-day experience he had with the voice. And there's YouTubes on that experience and his journey with that, which is like very fascinating. So he was a manifester in human design, and that was his design. He was here to manifest this system. And I believe there were other people who had tried to download this system, but it's very, very intense. I mean, imagine 8 days of just constant information coming into your system for you to share with the world. So it definitely takes a manifester to be able to download that, initiate that, and inform people. So human design, like I said, it's really like looking at your DNA from the moment that you pop out of the womb, the time you were born, and saying, okay, this is my DNA. This is the structure of what it is. This is the shadow of what it is if it's dormant, the gift when it is turned on and activated, and then the highest expression. So you could literally be in your not self your whole life and look at your design, or when you get introduced into human design, you could really contemplate like, oh, I have all these gifts. Oh, this is kind of true. Oh, I noticed this. And then you see what happens when you're not really leaning into it, and then something starts activating in your DNA and things start waking up and you're like, okay, this is actually who I was designed to be. It probably was just suppressed or conditioned out of me. And so the most important thing when you start living your design is to know your type, your strategy, and your inner authority. So there are 5 types in human design. First, we have the manifestors, who are about 9 to 10% of the population. They're the types that are here to just do it. They don't have any weighting in their strategy. They are a non-energy type though, so they do need to rest during their manifestations and urges. Then we have the projectors. They're about 20% of the population, and they're the newest aura type to this system. So going back a little bit, we went from a 7-centered being. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with the 7 chakras, the 7 chakra system. So we went from a 7-centered being to a 9-centered being in human design. And this is where the projector comes in. And the projector is a very interesting aura type. They're a non-energy type and they are made for the other. So their strategy is wait to be recognized and wait to be invited. So without this knowledge, without anybody knowing if they're a projector or not, they're waiting to be recognized most of their life. And if they're not really waiting, they're trying to insert their guidance because they have a very distinct laser, because they penetrate into somebody's G center to really see them and guide them. And it really is a gift. Like the projectors are really the gift to the other because they just want them to be in their theme, which most for the energy type. So it's like satisfaction. It's like, how can I really guide you to use your energy to feel more satisfied? But if that's not being recognized, if that's not giving consent to the projector might feel bitter and think and have all these stories of like, nobody recognizes me. I don't know who I am, because the energy type and other types will recognize the gifts in the projector. And so if that's not being recognized and somebody's in their bitterness, because that's the not self of the projector, it can be very, very painful for a projector. So I'm a projector. I'm a mental projector. So when I found out I was a projector and I started learning about it, I was like, oh my gosh, my whole life makes sense. Like it was like I was relieved and then a little bit pissed off because I was like, what's this waiting thing? I don't know what that is. I'm very much like an independent, go out and do it. I like put myself, like I motivated myself to get like my degree and be very like, wanting to accomplish things. But once you hear something and it rings true, you cannot take that out of your system. And so I kept getting all these confirmations of like, hey, you're not waiting. Hey, you're not being recognized. People aren't listening to you. And so I kept feeling and tasting this bitterness even more and more. And so I was like, okay, let me just try this out. Let me experiment, as they call it, and I'll wait. And I was life-changing because I didn't realize how draining my energy was being from constantly just trying to initiate and inform and being a manifestor, keep up with the generator world, that I was like, wow, I actually have more energy returning to me. This is really interesting. And then that's when the experiment really began. And so the other types are the energy types. So that's the generators and the manifesting generators. So this is about 70% of the population. And these beings are the life force of the world. I mean, it's so important for them to really feel satisfied in how they're using their energy. I mean, when a generator is generating and they're just in satisfaction, I mean, it's like moths to a flame. You want to be around them. You want to talk to them. You want to know what they are up to. And it's so important for them to really notice what frustrates them and what feels really satisfying. And I got to tell you, when I've been working with generators and manifesting generators, sometimes they don't even know what satisfies them. So that's okay too, because they've been so conditioned in the frustration and the mind, the monkey mind society is saying, oh, well, you have to do this. But that's not true. Who says who? Right? And so it's really starting experimenting, just noticing what you're being frustrated by and letting that be okay to let go. And if you just take like one or two things that you notice you're frustrated with and kind of like cut that off or set a boundary, you're going to thank yourself. Like it's things, then the universe responds, then your reality responds, and it brings in more things for you to respond to, because the strategy is wait to respond. And for a manifesting generator, it's wait to respond and inform. And so then there will be other possibilities for you to wait to respond to your energy of what really satisfies you. Wow. And then the last type is the 1% is the reflectors. Now, these are the unicorns of the type, because it's only 1% of the population, and this is the only type that has no definition in their charts. So they are literally a mirror for their environment. Their aura type is sampling, so it's kind of like Teflon. It takes it in and it reflects it back. So anybody they are with, any environment they are in, that is who they are. And so it's very, very important for them to know that the environments and people they surround themselves are correct for them. And if they experience disappointment, that is their not self. But when they really experience that surprise of everything they're sampling, that's when they're in alignment. And reflectors are super, super powerful because an awoken reflector can awake 100 generators around them. Or if they're in their not self, they can keep 100 generators asleep because that's how intense their aura is.
Wow. I feel like when you were saying that maybe my husband might be a reflector.
Send me his info. I'll look at his, yeah.
Because I'm a generator, so it kind of aligns, and we've worked together, in our relationship we've both we better each other. We embrace each other's uniqueness, and we bring out really the best in each other. And so that really hit home with me. So listeners, it's so incredibly interesting, the depth that Lauren can go into. And we talked about and I'm not going to go into everything about me, but the things that she described about me was absolutely amazing. And that's so interesting about the projectors, because, well, first of all, I'm so impatient, so I don't think I could ever be a projector. And being the generator, for me, when I'm high, I'm so high. When the energy's good, I can do 20 different things because my energy is so good. But I was telling you off air, I'm all or nothing. So I have to have either all of that going well, I gotta feel good about all of it, or I just don't want any of it. Is that pretty in alignment with the manifesting generator?
So with your emotional authority, you really have to feel it. It's the feeling 100%. And it's making sure that you're not responding from a really, really high or a really, really low. It's really feeling your emotions. And you're so good with this. You have such great emotional hygiene and intelligence. So it's really being in tune with your emotions, because it's a motor center. It's an energy center. So it's using it. And then you have all the motor centers. So you have all the energy. So you already intuitively know, I have all the energy. So I'm going to put it into what really feels good for me. Because if it's not feeling good, that's a train wreck. A manifesting generator who's frustrated, has all the energy, and is being depleted, that's like trying to stop a freight train. It has a way longer recovery period. So you're already spot on with using your inner authority.
Well, it cracked me up because I had asked Lauren, listeners, she said, do you have any more questions? And I was talking about business, because now I have 5 businesses, my own personal businesses. So life coaching, podcasting, the books. I do a resale business because I'm all about repurposing and saving the earth. And then I also have a dog boutique. So I have 5 businesses over here. And when you had mentioned that I would do good in corporate, I was in corporate for 27 years, and it was soul sucking. And that frustration of not being able to influence others around me, not being able to be my best self in that surrounding, being really just sort of oppressed, it just didn't work. And so I think about those of you out there, you have to get this human design read by Lauren, and we're going to give you all of the information to do that. But it. This is the interesting thing to me, is this information is fantastic. And I love that it's so specific, but it. I knew for 27 years that was not where I belonged. That was not who I was. I hated every minute of it and every day of it. And the only way for me to make it better was to say, well, this is funding my dream. Because I knew it was going to pay for me to come over here and do this other thing. And I did both of them for a while until I couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, no, I have to be 100% in to what I really, really love. And that's changing lives and being the voice that my younger self needed. So I think you're just absolutely so spot on. Of course you are, because you've studied this and you are fantastic at this. How do you translate this into your coaching, what does your coaching look like when clients come to you, like clairvoyant life coach and transformation specialist? I want to know like the specifics of that niche, because that is fantastic.
That's a really good question. So I really have to credit it back to my background with working with clients in the neurodiverse population, with autism and special needs, or whatever the correct political term is right now. Because every client's plan was different. No client had the same behavior plan, the same anything. And I was like, this is so interesting because we're looking at everybody's individual needs and catering a plan to them. Well, when you look at society, that's quite the opposite. And it's like, all right, you want to be successful? Here is the cookie cutter box. You need to get into it. And if you can't, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, here's how you conform. And in the educational system with the little ones, myself included, with having a son with ADHD, the IEP, that thank goodness it was looking a little bit better at saying, what can we do individually to help your child? But it was still sort of the idea of, can we get them to, how can we get them to conform with as little accommodations as necessary?
Right. So there's still holes in the system for sure. That's why, one of the reasons why I left my previous profession. But I looked at that and I was like, this is what humans need. This is what they really need, to look at their own individual needs. And how do I know what their individual needs are? I can look up their soul gifts and I can look up their human design. And that's when the juicy stuff happens. And then I ask them, well, what do you want to work on? What do you want to create in the next 3 to 6 months? And so we talk about that. And then we look at, past trauma, limiting beliefs, like what is getting in the way right now? And then looking at past lives, clearing that stuff. I mean, that is so transformational in itself. And then looking at the human design and seeing where they're influenced and really vulnerable and taking in other people's energies, and how they can get into alignment. So I really just use a lot of different things that I have worked on for myself, that I've been mastering in the systems of what I've been learning, and just apply it with my clients, and listen to what they're going through, and not making a judgment, just being a safe space. And I can't tell you how many times clients have been like, sorry, I'm crying. It's like, no, I want you to cry. Get that shit out, sister or brother. Like, it's okay.
And release it. It's overspill. It's emotional overspill. Every time my clients cry, and they say, I'm sorry, I'm like, please do not be, because this is finally the moment that we've waited for. You need this breakthrough. You got to let it go. It's your body physically saying, get this stuff out of there, and then let's clear it out and move from there. I'm fascinated by the past life thing. This is so fascinating to me. And I've already told Lauren, I'm going to schedule to talk to her more in depth about myself. See how coaches need coaches. This is what we do. We need each other. So the past life thing, how did you discover you were able to have this clairvoyance, and what are some examples of past life things that you've either helped clients with or discovered in yourself?
Yeah. So when I first started my journey and I hired my first spiritual life coach, she did the reading for me. So she really turned me on into understanding past lives. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can't believe these past lives have happened, and I'm recreating certain patterns in this life. But of course, because that's what happens, right? And then through my coaching with her and her mentoring me throughout the years, since I'm a projector, I get invited in a lot of areas of my life. So I would ask her questions, and she's like, why don't you just get certified? Because you want to know. So why don't you just get certified in this modality? And I had all these doubts of like, oh, well, I'm not really psychic or clairvoyant or this or that. I was just very disconnected from my intuition. I was very, very intuitive as a kid, but through trauma, through conditioning, through adults and their own trauma, getting scared. And so they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, no, I really do. And so I went through the certification process. And I can't tell you how much of a test it was to trust myself again. Because it's very much you're basing it on, even though I'm very intuitive, I like to have like a reference point. So it's like I'm logical at the same time, because I'm like, I don't want anybody to think I'm making something up. I always check. This is what I'm getting. Do you feel like this is correct? And all the time it's yes. So when I was going through this process and really being activated through the certification process and all these visions that were coming to me, I almost gave up like 3 or 4 times. But I'm not a quitter. So I was like, okay. I completed, and then I started getting clients and doing these readings, and it was very challenging because it's like you go through a system and you ask a lot of questions and you get clarification and you put together the whole reading in the system and seeing where these past life and blockages are coming from. And I didn't know a lot of information from these people. You know, they didn't share with me like a lot of their traumas or their stories, and it was very much like whatever I was getting. So then when we would go over it, they're like, this is crazy. This is so spot on with whatever past life that was coming up and how it was showing up now in this life. And it continues to blow my mind. And so like when we've done the clear and when we look at the past life stuff, their lives shift so dramatically. Like it is intense. I remember one of my practice clients, her and her new husband, they were trying to get pregnant, and she had a block around like her sacral that showed up in a past life, and we cleared it, and she got pregnant like right after. And I was like, if people just knew the power in this stuff, they wouldn't have to go. I mean, everybody needs to use their own inner authority. Like, I'm not taking that away. Like, trust what you need. But that could save so much money from like in vitro or you know, IVF or this or that, if it's like literally a past life or like an energetic blockage or like a limiting belief.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. And I have some ideas of my past lives, but it's so funny how different you and I are, because when I first kind of discovered, you know, being able to touch on my psychic abilities, it's funny that you were like wanting your logical brain was like, does this make sense? Can you validate that? And I was just the opposite. I was like, blah, I'm just gonna say whatever. And I do that now. I'll say, doesn't matter if you know it or you don't know it, it's there, it's what I'm told, and just hold on to it, put it in your pocket, and later you might know. I had a friend that I did a reading for, and she has a guardian, and I said, this guardian, this is what they look like, and when you almost get into like a car accident, they prevent that, so they really do protect you. And she said, oh, that just happened the other day. And I said, yeah, that was him watching over you. So I described what he looked like, and I described I told her his initials, and I can see what side of your family it's on, if it's a relative, or for me, the visual is, you know, mentor, or higher guide. Like, you know, my son, was a shaman. And he's very black and white, and he's very set on what he believes, and there's no changing it. And so I had done a reading with him and saw a shaman. But this particular friend, I said, well, here's the initials. She had no idea who this was. It was I said, it's usually like a grandfather, great grandfather, or further back. I can tell how far back they go. They show me the levels. And she went home and she told her mom, and her parents had been divorced, and it was on her dad's side. And her mom was like, I don't know. And so she dug into some of her old things, and she found a funeral program for her great grandfather on her father's side, who died a year before she was born. And he had those initials in the picture on the program. So when I tell people stuff now, because I used to doubt myself, I used to not doubt myself, but I would feel like that's not clear enough, or I need to give them more specifics. And now I don't feel like I need to do that. I really just kind of go with what I'm given. And just like in life, like you said, if people realize just clearing stuff out, how much more clarity, healing, creation, manifesting that will come to you. Oh my goodness, we just save ourselves so much, but we're trapped sort of in this cloud, I think. From, you said something amazing, what you said, and I wrote it down while you were talking. It was either suppressed or conditioned out of me. That is everything, because that's what happens. That earthly experience, the people, they're completely trying to change you into what their failures are, what they want you to be. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I kind of look at it a little bit differently because I've been through like a lot of trauma as well. And when I really like reflected on it, I've done a lot of healing work. It's like, it's people don't know what they don't know. So it's like really like they are trying their best, and it is a conditioning element as well. So it's both. And it's like we sign up for these lives. Our souls are like, all right, like this sounds fun. I'm going to learn this from this person, and we're going to add this and this, and because we're infinite beings. But when we get into reality and the physical, our human mind is like, oh, geez, what did I sign up for? And so it's really looking at, well, what was the lesson that this person taught me? And really like looking at it from that lens and seeing, because the conditioning, if we get stuck in the conditioning and we're just there, then we're just being conditioned and we're a victim of life. But when we're really looking at the conditioning, we're asking, okay, what is the lesson here? What is the gift here? Because that's how you transmute it all. It's like really looking for the gratitude. And the mind and the ego will fight because it wants to be right. But you transcend all that with gratitude, and you really see, if I didn't go through this, I wouldn't be able to help people in this way, or wouldn't even know how to be this. Because imagine if we didn't go through that, and maybe we had a different experience, but we wouldn't be able to be the depths and experience life at the level that we can. So conditioning, I mean, it's rough for everybody to go through, but it is so possible, and what a gift it is to have this intel right now. So now we can choose. It's like, oh wow, I never knew. How awesome. And now I'm going to give myself like 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, the rest of my life now to go through it.
I love that so much. And you know, I was just thinking, we have no idea. It's always like things that are happening behind the curtain on play. You know, all those things that had to happen, all those synchronicities that aligned for us wanting to fulfill that contract that we had coming here, and the lessons. Excuse me. I'm reminded of a movie, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is the coolest thing. And listeners, I would suggest to everybody to go check this movie out. I think it's on Netflix, like one of the older ones. It's from like 1991, and it had Meryl Streep and Albert Brooks in it, and I forget who the other actor was, and I can't even remember the name. But what happens is they die, and they have all these people going up escalators and getting on buses, and they go to this place, and at this place, there you go in front of a judge and jury of whether they want you to go back based on what you did in this life, or if you can ascend. And what really stuck out to me was they would pick a random date out of your life, and then they'll show you a clip of it, like, you know, a movie clip. And I thought about, what if we did that? What if we could literally, I mean, I'm nifty 50s here, 53 now. And if someone could choose, you know, hey, let's pick when you were 22 on December 6th, and see what was going on. I mean, I think, like you said, the transmuting is that we have to every day think about, if we pulled this clip out of today, what was I doing that mattered? What was I doing that made a difference? Because staying in that other place of not fulfilling what we came here to do, it like you said, all of these different types of human design I love what you said about the non-self and the non-self equaling, what was it? With the different human design types, like the non-self part or the shadow. That was it. What was the shadow thing?
So the not self of each design, so it's all the lower energy feelings. So like for a projector, the not self will be bitterness.
Oh,
The generator, the not self will be frustration. The manifester, the not self will be anger. And then the not self for the reflector will be disappointment. But where the shadows come in is it's a little more deeper when somebody's really going in through their human design. So it could be their dormant gates. So it's a gate that is off an undefined center and they're not activated, or it could be a hanging gate that is in the not self, so it's attracting the other part. So for example, this is a little bit deeper, but for example, my G center. So the G center has to do with your identity, self-love, and direction. So anybody who has this white or has like a gate and it's white, or a couple gates or whatever, and it's white off this center, it's the diamond, it's in the middle of somebody's chart. And if they have a hanging gate and they're in their not self, they're going to be drawing in a lot of the shadow of the other gate they're looking for. So my G center, I only have one gate off of it. It's the gate 25, and that's all about universal love. So when I didn't know I was a projector, the hanging gate that connects that to make a channel is the gate of shock. So I was attracting so much shock into my life. And it was shock to my sense of self-love, to my body, of what I felt of myself. But then really aligning to myself and my design and really giving myself permission to activate my dormant gate, to really trust life again, to have my connection to spirit, to forgive, to really see the purpose in all my trauma and all my things that I went through so I could transcend it. And that's when I was able to really go into the gift of the gate 25 and not in the shadow of being shocked by the 51, if that makes sense.
No, oh my gosh, listeners, are you guys as fascinated? I could listen to her do this all day long. Like, this is really this scientific study. I mean, how amazing that this was brought in 1987, and that you and so many others really have delved into this to keep this alive, to really now spread it to help others and to understand ourselves so much better. And I'm just I could listen to this forever, but that's so very true that when we stay in those places of victimization, self-pity, low self-worth, we are not fulfilling, and we are dormant. The gates are dormant of what our passion and our purpose is, to really come here and do something. And hey, listeners, if I were to pull any date in your life and do a little movie clip of it, make sure that from here on out, that movie clip is worth watching and it's worthwhile, and that you're doing something that fulfills what you came here to do and what your soul asked to do. So I think that is so fantastic. So I want to talk about, so you are an author. Tell us about that. Tell us how to find you, how to set up coaching with you. Give me everything that we need to know to get near Miss Lauren and find all of this stuff out for ourselves.
So I had published a poem in a book like years ago. So, and then I was working on a book, but then that got paused. So I'm not sure if that's ever going to be published, or if my direction and my invitation will be elsewhere. So I will definitely let you know when that happens. I have a podcast out right now with my co-host Vicky. It's called AuricSleuths, and that's on YouTube and Spotify, and that's all about human design. So if you're wanting to get into human design, if you are sort of well versed, we go into really different rabbit holes. It's like leading edge, even in human design, what we're uncovering. that is just shifting so much. It's really looking at human design and healing your health, seeing where your vulnerabilities are, seeing what, and I don't want to like bash any systems because they have a purpose and they try their best and they're super supportive. But I do believe like misdiagnosis and putting people in boxes and saying like, oh, well, you have this, or like, it's this, and you don't look at your DNA and like where you're actually getting conditioned and amplified. Because for the longest time, I thought I had depression. I thought I was super, super anxious. I was on and off medication since I was like 17 till I was like 30, 31. And then when I found out I was non-emotional in human design, I was like, I'm the biggest drama queen. Like I cry so freaking much. I'm emotional roller coaster. I'm emotional wreck. But since I was completely open in my emotional center, I was just taking in and amplifying all the emotions around me. And so when I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not emotional. And ever since then, it was such a gift to know this stuff, because at my core, I'm pretty calm and cool. And then when I have my emotional experience, I do. And then I reset and I'm calm and I'm cool. But if you were to ask me this pre-human design, I would not believe you. I'd be like, I was very tied to what other people told me and conditioned me and labels and, that story that I was buying into. And so we look at all these different things and we see like, okay, I'm actually this, or, this diagnosis. Let me look at it at my chart and just see like how my energy is designed.
Yes.
And it helps like, using your inner authority if you want to like shift your medication or your medicine, or what your like supplements or what your nourishment is really needed for your vehicle in your body. And I'm a heretic. I'm a 5/1 in human design. So I'm really here to bring this information with a passion. I'm like, I know this stuff. Try it on. Like, I believe everybody deserves to have their autonomy, their sovereignty, feel so fucking self-empowered to live. Like, nobody should make you feel like you have to be scared or you have to surrender your autonomy or your inner power to anybody else. That's not how we're designed. And my ears are like ringing really
I know.
right now as I
got
say
full
that.
body chills. So yeah, they're supporting us for sure. And that's on YouTube. So that's AuricSleuths, guys. I'll have that link. And then her website is laurenwenzell.com, because I found it today before we got on. So, and all of her coaching is there. She's got the packages that she offers, all the things that she does. What I love is that you're bringing science into something where I'm a feeler and I'm like, just feel your way through it. And you're like, no, let's logic. Let's use science. And that's the beauty of this, because there's people that need more of that. They need more of the quantum information. My husband, oh my gosh, I just blanked out. My husband, the engineer, needs more of the logic,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the feelers out there like me. We just feel our way through life, and they're going to resonate more with that. So I just love that so much. So guys, I'm going to have all of her stuff up on all the links up for you guys to get a hold of her. And I just I can't wait for all of you to reach out to her. So Miss Lauren, sorry, I have a frog in my throat. What we do here on Ink is pretty heavy, and this was pretty heavy. So I like to end it on a very light note. I always do little segments. And this little segment that I'm doing currently is called That Tastes Funny. And what that entails is something that you like that most people would not eat, or something that most people like that you would not eat. So what do you have for me?
So I don't do this anymore. But when I was little, I would put pickles in my burritos.
I could see that. It's like pickled jalapenos almost, right?
Yeah.
Pickles in your burrito. Now, today you wouldn't do that, but I kind of, if you have to be a really aficionado of pickles to be able to put that in.
I love pickles. Like I can just eat pickles and tuna fish just straight up.
Dill or sweet?
Dill.
Okay. How do you feel about sweet pickles?
I'm not a fan.
Ah, see, there we go. That tastes funny. So someone who is a dill pickle aficionado is not a fan. That's funny that you said I'm not a fan, because my grandson is a pretty choosy eater. And when I make dinner and he doesn't eat it all, I know something's off. Because he's a teenager. He's 16. The boy eats, like, we call it his first dinner, his second dinner, and his third dinner. And so I'll say, you know, why didn't you eat your dinner? And he'll go, I'm not a fan. And I'm like, oh, trigger. I've got to go it. But no, that's funny, because I am partial to sweet pickles and not dill pickles. Now, the real crunchy dill pickles, I can do that. But what I used to do was wrap them in cheese and put it on a sandwich with mayo, or like on bread with mayo with cheese and then a pickle in the middle, and just eat a pickle sandwich. So I am kind of there with
Love it
on the dill pickles. Well, thank you for all of the information, and I can't thank you enough. We are so honored to have you. We are so grateful for all of your knowledge, for the light you bring to the world, and for just everything that you're doing. And I'm so happy we cross paths and we are connected from here on out. So everyone knows, once you're a guest, that we're connected for life and we're soul family. So I can't thank you enough, and I'm gonna find out more from you about some other things. I wanna explore my past life stuff. So we're gonna schedule that.
Thank you so much, Maureen. It's such a joy to be with you. I feel so honored to be in this space, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And what you brought to my listeners today, and to everyone that's gonna hear and see you on YouTube. I couldn't be more grateful. And I always know that alignment is there, and it is brought for that reason, that someone needed to hear it today. So listeners, if that someone is you, please reach out. Let me know what you thought of Lauren. And if you want to reach out to her, feel free to contact me or contact her. And listeners, I can't express, and this is a double negative, I shouldn't say that. I'd like to express how grateful I am for you, and how you have really built this community and this podcast. And we have all 5 stars, and we just made it in the top 50 on Good Pods in spiritual, mental health, and I can't remember what the other ones were. So that was really super cool. So guys, if you love the podcast, reviews are fantastic. So go to Good Pods, because they don't get enough recognition, I don't think, as some of the other platforms. So Good Pods and Apple, leave those reviews, because that helps me to bring you more. And back to a little bit of housekeeping. Again, if you need any confidence coaching, dating coaching, relationship coaching, you know where to find me, lifecoachmaureen.com. And the books are My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am, and My Dog is My Relationship Coach. It's a great gift for Christmas, because it's going to really help those in your life and yourself in those long-term relationships, dating relationships, committed relationships, to really have the healthiest relationship that you seek and deserve. So go get My Dog is My Relationship Coach. And our new one is our children's book. My Dog Bexley is just like me, teaching children mindfulness, that emotions and self-care is important. The fun about the book is it's repetitive. It helps them to learn reading, and you can replace Bexley with your own dog's name for more engagement. So I thank you all so much. Do not forget to go to our doggy boutique, where we have healthy treats, paw balm, hypoallergenic homemade shampoos, and we just created some new products, and you're going to love them. They are collar scrunchie covers, and your doggy will be the most fashionable dog in the dog park. I'm just saying. Along with those doggy scrunchies, we have human scrunchies, so you and your dog will be the talk of the dog park. I'm just saying. So that's at mydogiseverything.net. So I love you all for listening. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being you, and for being here with me and joining my beautiful, beautiful Miss Lauren today. And if you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. Please contact us. And if you have a topic you want me to cover, let me know. We will do that as well. So I love feedback, positive vibes, positive energy, because I am a manifesting generator. So I do appreciate positive energy. So let's just keep that in mind. Wink, wink. So I love you all. And until next week, you guys take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Most of all, please take care of those furry babies and be sure you adopt and don't shop. I love you all. Mwah.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.